We have long been fascinated by the night sky. Archaeologists have uncovered a prehistoric calendar thought to be the oldest in the world in northern Scotland. It dates from 8000 BC and it tracked the solar year and the lunar cycles. The Babylonians published star catalogs dating from 1200 BC. And just last week, the internet was full of stories about the conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter as the Christmas star. We have our own representation of the night sky in the beautiful star in the top of the Holy Family window here in church. When the sun shines, it positively sparkles. Well, today we celebrate the Epiphany, the revelation, the manifestation of the incarnation. I'd like to look at today's feast as two kinds of invitation: an invitation to draw close and an invitation to go outward. The first step is to recognize that God is always inviting us to be active members of the kingdom. As much as we like to think that we do it all on our own, all of our prayer and good works, our contemplation and our action are all initiated by God. The first action is always from Him, because the true and ever faithful God is always reaching out to us to initiate that mysterious encounter. So the love of God always comes first. And what we view as our own first step is always in response to that invitation. And the invitation is always in a language that we readily understand. The Magi were astronomers who studied the skies, who knew the language of the stars, and so it is a star that appears to invite them to Bethlehem, to draw them close to the incarnation. When we look at that glorious window in church, that sparkling star, we see just how dramatically God works to invite us closer. The first invitation is a closer relationship with God, and that comes in a language that we readily understand. Now, we always say that God is a mystery and that God works in mysterious ways, but I don't think that God is playing a game of hide and seek with us. God's way is not an eternally difficult New York Times crossword puzzle with esoteric clues and archaic vocabulary. Instead, God invites us in the everyday language that we already understand. A little baby clasping just one of your fingers, a smile from a friend, even if it's socially distanced, or bright sunshine on a very cold day. God invites us every day to come closer in ways that are extravagant, like the star, and intimate, like a loving glance. Now notice also who Matthew highlights in the gospel today as the recipient of this invitation: foreigners, strangers, people who had unfamiliar customs and different ways. I think that we sometimes hold back, stand a little in the background because we feel like we're not worthy, or perhaps that the invitation isn't really for us. The Magi, on the other hand, intuited something that awakened their dreams, that told them not to be afraid, to entice them on a long journey to connect with the divine. They may not have had the answers, but they did believe that life could be more than what they already knew where they were. Sometimes when my faith is down in the dumps, when hope seems in short supply, I too feel like a stranger, and I wonder whether the invitation is for me. But in today's story, we see that we are the ones invited because the light of Christ, the revelation of the divine, the invitation to get close, that's for all of us. God invites us every day to come close. And that brings me to the second invitation, to go outward. Take a look at the last line in today's gospel. And having been warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they departed for their country by another way. The Magi took another path. They went another direction after they experienced Christ. The manifestation of the divine, the revelation of God as alive, as one of us, the Epiphany, sent them off in an entirely different direction. The Magi are great symbols of the most noble of human efforts, the journey to seek God, to move toward knowledge and understanding, to avoid fear and hatred. That's what we all hope to do. And when they encounter complete goodness, when they experience the presence of God, their lives are changed and they go down a different path. We're invited to do the same. Just as we experience the intimacy of Christ, we are sent out by him with love, not fear. We journey with mercy, not intolerance. Today, we're invited to consider our path and to make corrections, to take another way so that we become prophets of God's good news. Now, right now, if your COVID experience is anything like mine, we're living in a very constrained environment. There's very little variety because we're staying close to home and we're staying safe. But we're also looking ahead to that light at the end of the tunnel, filled with hope that 2021 will be a return to a more normal world. But how will we make that world different? How will we take a different road to build a more positive, more inclusive, more compassionate world? The Magi didn't return to Herod's fear and hatred, but embraced another road, even though it may have been mysterious, because it offered hope. The invitation that we're being offered today probably isn't a star. While we are fascinated by the night sky, that's not our language. We are more comfortable with other signs, with other symbols that tell us that God is inviting it close. And then filled with that encounter, filled with that closeness to God, we journey outward, invited to take ourselves and our world down a positive and loving road. May God bless you on your journey.